again, and welcome to another podcast for Cheat Code Fantasy Sports. This podcast, we're going to be going over the two Showdown slates tonight. Normally, we just have the one on Sunday Night Baseball, but I guess because of being the opening week and all that, we have two. And we also have a night slate because of that. And so I'll be going over a little bit on each Showdown as well as the night slate. Look at guys and lineup construction, things like that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take a look over here at the lineups to begin with. First off, being in California, the Dodgers game is not going to have any weather concerns to worry about. Cool temperatures. The New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves game, also no rain to worry about. A little bit of wind, but not anything that's going to help one way or the other. And then it's going to be kind of dry, so not really wind blowing out either. But we have Sean Newcomb, the left-hander, going up against Rick Porcello, the right-hander, for the first game. And we have Drew Smyly, the left-hander, against Julio Urias, the left-hander, as well for the second game. The Braves lineup is pretty consistent with how it's been so far, other than Adam Duvall is not playing today. Acuna leading off, Albies second, Freeman third, Ozuna fourth, Adams fifth, Swanson sixth, Riley seventh, Inciarte eighth, and then Contreras batting ninth. And then for the Mets, Rosario first, McNeil second, Alonso third, Cespedes fourth, Conforto fifth, J.D. Davis sixth, Cano seventh, Thomas Nido eighth, and then Nimmo batting ninth. So a little bit different lineup than the Mets have been doing, just because of us being left-handed pitcher. So those two lineups are confirmed as of right now, 3 o'clock Central Time. So you don't have to worry about unless, somebody gets scratched. Now, the Giants and Dodgers game, this one, these are just projected lineups. So they could change. Make sure you stay tuned. That game being at 9 o'clock Central Time. I expect the lineups to come around 5 or 6 p.m. Central Time. So we still have a little ways on that. But Slater, Solano, Flores, Roof, Pence, Yastrzemski, Jalen Davis, Dubon, and Heineman. And then projected for the Dodgers is Betts, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Hernandez, Seager, Taylor, Peterson, and Will Smith. So first thing I want to do is talk about possible contest to enter. Like I said, I'm not playing cash really first few days, first weekend for anything, but on Showdowns, it's too risky. I don't play cash. There's strategies and stuff that can work out sometimes. It just depends on the slate. And then for the 2-game slate, for the night slate, I don't really play cash on 2-game slates either. So some GPPs that I want to look at is the $12 single entry for the night slate. It pays out 2 times minimum cash. So you'll get double your money if you min cash. The big GPP, the $15 one, it only has 1.5. So if I was only doing one lineup, spending about $15, instead of chasing that big one, I would go for the single entry. And not to mention the big one, everybody can pick 150 lineups. And so it's going to help your odds doing the single entry. And then the $1 mini max is kind of nice because it's 2 times min cash. Now for Atlanta and the Braves and the Mets Showdown, the $10 extra inning, the big one, it pays $5K to first, but it's only 1.5 min cash again. And the $12 single entry pays 23%. So 23% of the lineups getting paid there. And the $1 solo shot is paying 24% of the lineups out. And then And then we have the last game, the $10, the big one. It's $20K to first, which is really big for Showdown. So it's the main contest that they're doing for Showdown, and it also pays 23%. So I don't mind doing that one. And then the $12 single entry pays 24%, and it's 2x min cash. And the $1 solo shot pays about 24%. So those are all pretty good contests for that last game, especially. So if you were thinking about only doing one of the three, I would do the last one because the contests are just so much better. And then this note here about the Roto Grinders extension for Chrome. That's pretty good extension to get because it will tell you, you know, who, what contest, the overlay. Actually, let me go ahead and let me just show you. Of course, it's not loading. So like on the relay throw, once I click on it with the extension, it's going to tell you. So it pays 21.8% of lineups. The minimum cash is 1.53x. And it's weighted. First place gets 25% of the prizes. Top 10 gets half of the money. So that's one thing to look at there. Then for this mini max for the night slate, only 20% cash, and then but it's min cash if you cash. And then the top 10 is 35%, but first place only gets 16%. So it's pretty cool. And it also tells you overlay, how much overlay is there. Like in that one, 8.3% right now in the $15 one. So let's go ahead and try to create a lineup. Well, before we get into that, I want to take a look at the BVP, which, as most of you know, is how that batter does against the pitcher. All these are on the side. Those are just to load the players in here. So this is the BVP for these players against Newcomb and against Porcello. So the first one that stands out is Freddy Freeman, of course. He's $14,100 if you use him in the captain, $9,400 in the utility. In 11 at bats, he's got 5 hits, no home runs, but that's a .455 average and a .455 slugging. So that's pretty good for Freeman there. Another one is Rosario on the Mets side, 5 out of 10 hits off of Newcomb. McNeil has 2 hits and 6 at bats. And that's pretty much it on this one. Not a whole lot to go off of, just because both of these are NL teams, and Porcello, as we know, used to be on the Red Sox AL team. So we're going to go ahead and try to create a lineup for the Showdown first. But I want to talk about strategy. Definitely, if I'm doing cash, like I said, I don't really do it on Showdowns. But if I'm doing cash, I'm going to almost always use a pitcher in the captain spot, depending on who who is going and if I think they're going to be all right. If it's a pitcher that I don't think is going to do any good, I won't. And in this case, I don't necessarily love any of these pitchers. So let's go Porcello. Last year, lefties hit 284 off of him with a 487 slugging. Righties hit him just as much, 273 with a 479 slugging. So he gets beat up on both sides. Righties had 18 homers and then 13 homers for lefties. It's not something that I'm wanting to target. So Porcello is probably going to be low owned because people are going to go after the bats. Um, let's see, does he have any stats against the Mets last year? No, didn't face the Mets last year. I mean, didn't face the Braves last year. Um, so, 5.52 ERA, just not something I want to target on Porcello. And then Newcomb, his stats for last year, lefties hit 250, but the slugging 329, and then righties hit 230, and the slugging was 393. If I was using a pitcher, I'd prefer Newcomb. He's not the greatest pitcher, but the slugging being so low tells you he doesn't get beat deep. And only 29 walks the entire season. So, I mean, that's pretty good odds. So if I was using a pitcher, I'm going to be using Newcomb. So let's go back over here and talk about that scenario. If we use Newcomb and we're fading Porcello, we want to use Freeman because of the BVP. Then you can get Rosario. Let's go down. Where's he at? I was hoping he'd be cheaper to get some savings, but he's not. Almost always you're going to have to use one of these guys at the bottom, especially if you're trying to fit in both pitchers. So let's just use Contreras since he's on the Braves and we think they're going to be the better side. So that leaves you 7,600. You can use relief pitchers on Showdown, but ever since they changed the where you can't get the points for the holds and the saves, it's really not worth it unless it's somebody you know is going to come in at least 2 innings plus, or somebody that's going to get 3 strikeouts in their inning. So that's one scenario. I'm just playing around here, so none of these are final or anything. This is just one way to do it. You could get Alonso and Freeman with Newcomb. So then if we want to go Freeman at captain and use Newcomb, then you can probably get Acuna, go down and get one of these cheap guys, get another cheap guy, and you could get like J.D. Davis. So there's different strategies. One of the things that I try to do in GPPs especially is pick a batter that I don't think is going to have very much ownership. Just like last night, Fernando Tatis, it didn't work out. Only 8% owned in the captain though, because everybody used the pitchers, Lamet and Robbie Ray. And like I said, that's not a bad thing. The other day I played Jacob deGrom in captain. I thought it was pretty much the only scenario that you could go with whenever they were playing the Braves. But if you get the right guy, a couple nights ago I had Kiki Hernandez in the captain, 49 points. I mean, you're going to get it going. So if you're doing cash, and maybe if you're only doing one lineup, I would not suggest that method. But I've just found more often than not I'm winning whenever I don't have a pitcher in the captain. So like Acuna, nobody's going to pay $16,500. They're going to go for the pitchers, or they're going to go for Freddy Freeman on the captain spot. So you could get Acuna, pay down for some of these cheap guys, and then you can still get Freeman in there. So that's one way, and I actually kind of like that. You get Acuna, Freeman, Ozuna. That's one way to do it. Again, don't play cash. Focus on GPPs and try to be different. These lower guys are going to have higher ownership. Not necessarily in the captain, so you can still be different by playing in the captain. But they're going to have heavy ownership just because of their price, because it's going to let people get guys in, since we can't use relief pitchers anymore. So that pretty much sums it up. As you can tell on that game, if you couldn't already tell, my projection is for the Braves to dominate the Mets, although the Braves have not looked great, but obviously you have to look at who they were going against. They were going against DeGrom, and then they went against Steven Matz. I don't like Matz, but as Cody said in his articles, he's a decent pitcher. He doesn't get beat. And they have a nice mix of, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So they got 4 lefties, 4 righties. That's a good mix going against Porcello. He gets hit on both sides. So now, before we get into the night slate, I want to go ahead and talk about the other showdown, and then we can talk about the night slate. So while that's loading, because DraftKings is going really slow today. Okay, so Mookie Betts is obviously going to be the best one here. 7 hits in 20 at-bats, including a home run. 650 slugging and 350 average. Hunter Pence is not great, only 1 for 8. Yastrzemski's 1 for 3. So there's not really much to go off of in this game, as you can see. Now, if you guys remember Drew Smyly, when he was on the Rangers, he's just not a good pitcher. And the Dodgers are one of the best offensives in baseball. So, yes, if you decide to play Smyly in the captain, you are definitely going to be different, especially since he's $14,000, $14,100. Now, do I think he is going to, be amazing? No. Do I think that he has a good chance to be a lot better than he was? Yes. And the reason is just like we saw with Dylan Bundy. A guy that his stats are skewed pitching in a hitter's park. Not a great pitcher, but the park helps. So I'm not saying we're going to see the same thing here, but he could be a little bit better. But obviously, it doesn't really matter. Look at that, 287 to lefties and a 723 slugging. That's just juicy whenever you're thinking about Cody Bellinger batting from that side. 273 average and then 511 slugging. Just not great. Then you have Julio Urias. Holds down lefties really good. 198 average, 376 slugging, 203 and 297 to righties. So again, much like the first game, we're wanting to stack the Dodgers just like we wanted to stack the Braves. Possibly use the pitcher from the Dodgers and use the Braves pitcher, and then pretty much avoid. Unfortunately, on Showdown, you have to use somebody from the Giants. But let's go ahead and put Urias in captain. Try to get Bellinger. I'm going to have to go to projected lineups since it won't load. We could go with the darling Kiki Hernandez again. He's really cheap. Probably going to be popular too because of his performance the other day. Then we can do Slater if he's leading off. Another cheap guy. Then you can get like Peterson. And you could get Dubon. It's a lot easier, again, whenever we have the lineups posted. But so what we can do here. Then we could do Bellinger. Bellinger and the captain, then Urias. Scroll down. Get Kiki Hernandez and Slater. Still leaves you a decent amount. So, yes, we think the Dodgers are going to win, but you still have to get creative, especially with their prices. I mean, look at how many people in the captain above 10K. So I would say on that game, I think the captain, the chalk's probably going to be Urias because the Giants are just so bad. And I don't mind that, but the Dodger bats have been fairly quiet. I mean, they've still been hitting the ball well, but for their standards, they've been really quiet. So I think you could, go with somebody like Bellinger or Muncy in the captain. Probably Bellinger is my preference because he usually does better against lefties than Bellinger does. Okay, so let's get into the night slate for a minute, since that pricing is a little bit different. Obviously, on the night slate, your chalk is going to be Newcomb and Urias for pitching. And I like that. Newcomb's dirt cheap. So he's definitely going, Newcomb's dirt cheap. He's definitely going to be the chalk. Now, for catcher, I always like playing a minimum price catcher because it doesn't matter. Catcher is one of those positions that doesn't really do just a whole lot for the difference in price, because then I can get Bellinger, Betts, Freeman, Albies, and then I can still get like Seager. So on this 2-game slate, I'm definitely going to be heavy Atlanta, heavy the Dodgers. If I played somebody from San Francisco, it'd probably be Slater because of his price. If I played someone on the Mets, let me go back. It'd probably be Alonso. Might not be. He doesn't have a whole lot of sample size just because he hasn't faced Newcomb that much. Possibly McNeil, possibly Rosario. So if you didn't want to go Seager, do Rosario. And then if you wanted to get Turner with Bellinger and Betts, then let's see can you get anybody besides Slater? See, that's going to depend on, you can get Roof. He's also min price. So with these min price guys, I put them in literally fully expecting a zero. Anything they can get is golden. If they homer, it helps you out a ton. But definitely I'm going to be wanting to use Newcomb because of the salary savings to be able to get the expensive guys in. Says Newcomb is going to have an innings limit, but in Showdown that doesn't really matter because everybody's going to be playing him. If it's the 2-game slate, I mean, it could, but I don't want to play Porcello and Smiley. They're just not good pitchers. So that's, it's one of those things. You just have to do it and hope for the best. I mean, Heaney was on a pitch count the other night, and he did okay, but then they ended up pulling him early. So it's just one of those things. I mean, Showdown, it's nothing to worry about. 2-game slate, I'd be slightly concerned, but you're not going to play Smiley against the Dodgers. I mean, there's a slight chance that would work out, but it's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. So I hope this cleared things up. I hope this helped. Checked one more time just to make sure we don't have any lineups. So Fantasy Labs, if you don't already follow them on Twitter, you can follow them and you can get their notifications for lineups for things like today with Uranus scratch because of the COVID positive test. So things like that, good luck tonight on the Showdowns. Don't forget to get to our Slack that's in the description below. It's free. 100% free. It's going to remain that way the entire 2020. You know, some of these other guys that were free, they're going to start charging you again here pretty soon. But we're going to stay free until 2020 is over with, because it's just too many questions right now in all sports and with the COVID and everything. You can also follow us on Twitter at CheatCodeFS. My Twitter is at OkiCowpoke14. At the Cody Harvey is he's the guy I own Cheat Code Sports with. And then our website, let me go ahead and take you there. CheatCodeFantasySports.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe as well. But check us out. Articles are posted on Slack. Our articles are posted on the website. We have cheat sheets. We have player pools. And it's just totally great content for you guys. Thank you for joining. And once again, good luck.